What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Nerds Gone Platinum Spoilercast for God of War. We've got some special guests with us. Sadly, Jason cannot be with us. He's got a family emergency. But I got my co-host Jeff with me, holding it down, the two of us. We've got our gaming buddies, Alan Heinen. We've got Jose.
Wu-Tang.
We got Ed from Barlog, and we got Adele.
Hello, everybody.
From Miami, kicking butt. Everybody
Miami, woo!
has played God of War. From my understanding, has loved it, liked it, whatever. So we're here to discuss God of War and talk about it, our feelings about it, what we liked, didn't like, all that stuff. So God of War released in May 20th? Or no, April 20th.
April
20th. Yeah. So that dude, my jaw's been frying my brain. This is the first podcast I've been on in like 3 weeks. I couldn't do it last week or the week before. It's just been crazy at work. So April 20th. So it's been, a little over a month now. So everybody's, had fun with it, beaten it. What we're gonna do for the spoiler cast is Jeff and I are gonna alternate between asking questions for everybody, and then they can give their response, and then or we'll give our response once we ask the question, while people can think of their response. So the first question is, what was your favorite moment in God of War? So think about that for a while. My favorite moment in God of War was getting the Blades of Chaos. Just like, you gotta go to this other realm, and Kratos is like, I gotta go OG on this. I've gotta go old school and wreak some havoc, and I've gotta get my blades, and it was like you're like, oh my god, like, I can't believe it, and then you come out of the house and you're just like, oh, this is amazing, and you get to use them for a while before you go off to that realm, to handle it. You got to get the heart to save your son, whatever. And so, not whatever, and so you're just like, this is amazing. And so you're just tooling around with the Blades of Chaos, having fun, and then you head off to your realm. So personally, that was there's so many good moments in God of War, but that was my personal favorite, because it was a great way to do a reference to the first games, because it's like, oh, you got this axe, which is cool, but then it's like, are they going to keep him, in this new setting with an axe, and then they're like, no, we're going to give you both, So, Jeff, what was your favorite moment?
Yeah, so this one's going to be maybe a little bit more obscure. This is actually a very small moment, and if you really didn't catch the dialogue, you may not have made the connection. But at the end of the game, as you're approaching the top of the mountain, Atreus and Kratos are just about to make their last little climb up a ledge, and they stop and notice that the painting that's on the wall, the handprint and everything, is actually the mother's handprint. And basically it harkens back to the fact that she had been there everywhere throughout the entire game, through their entire journey, and had marked every single place where you could climb up a ledge. So anywhere that you had in the entire game a place where you could grab onto and climb up, there was that paint marking, and it was all because of the mother had put it there.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Rather than just, a lot of games have that white or yellow mark on places where your character can grab onto and climb up, but they never tell you why, right? It's just a natural visual indicator that the designers or developers put into the game, because that's what we're used to. But now, they put in an actual reason why those markings are there and why that's where you can climb up. So I thought that was pretty cool, and a very subtle thing that really stood out to me at the end. We go with Alan.
I agree with the Blades of Chaos, because that's just awesome. that moment. But the one part that really struck me, which is really stood out with me, was when you're going up to the mountain, and it was the first time Kratos called his Atreus son.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
He didn't. He usually called him boy throughout the whole thing, and then he finally said son, and it was just kind of a subtle little thing, but that was really cool.
Yeah, that was well written. Like
that was very
his whole dialogue throughout the game is like boy, but he had a lot of emotion. He's trying to hide who he is from his kid, so that his kid doesn't have to deal with that. And so, yeah, he's just like trying to keep it, keep the wall up, and eventually he has to break it down because it's like, well, do I condemn my son to be what I was? You know what I mean? Do I, he needs to know, and he needs to learn as much as he can so he can have a better control. He can have better control over the situation, over his emotions and reactions to things. So, Jose, what was your favorite moment?
Well, I don't have a specific moment that was my favorite. It just kept hitting left and right, boom, boom, boom. Just everything was good about it. It totally blew my expectations away. I just didn't see it coming. I would say, my Blades of Chaos story isn't quite as exciting as your guys' because as my son ended up watching a YouTube video farther ahead to where I was in the game, and then ran into the kitchen real quick and told me, "Daddy, the Blades of Chaos are back."
That sucks.
I grounded him for a month.
Yeah, that's how I found out that the Blades of Chaos were in the game. So it was kind of lackluster for me on that. But I was excited to know that they were in there, but the moment was kind of ruined for me. But the set pieces, man, that's probably just my favorite part of the game. The set pieces are crazy. Especially when you're going, what is that, Helheim, I think, or when you're riding that ship and there's that giant bird in the background. Yeah. That is probably my favorite part right there. Just seeing that thing in the background. I don't know if it was going to fly in and kill me or what, but that thing just sitting there just looked creepy enough.
Yeah. Ed, what was your favorite moment? As you take a sip, I didn't even see you taking a sip of your soda.
My favorite part is when Kratos goes in the past and everything goes to a monochromatic look. It's black and white, and he's walking around in different parts. There's like gold in it. I thought that was very artistic. Santa Monica putting that in. I'm like, it looks really good. And when they put it in photo mode, I'm just like, oh, a lot of people should capture this because I think Sony Monica did a fantastic job doing that kind of pass and doing those shots and just that whole section right there. I thought that was very beautiful in the game. That really stood out to me.
Yeah. Okay. Add now.
So, man, you took my favorite part, but it's all good. Now, the Blades of Chaos, man. The Blades of Chaos are amazing. I was like a little kid, when you give a little kid a lollipop and you're like all excited. Oh my god! But now, apart from that one, my favorite part would have to be when he's in Helheim and the big apparition of Zeus comes up. And you can tell that Kratos is afraid of his past because he doesn't want his son to grow up exactly like that, like how he was. What I love about that part is the fact that they show that Kratos has emotion. He's not just some emotionless monster that just goes out killing, gods and all sorts of creatures. It actually shows that he's afraid of who he is, or at least of who he was in the past. I thought that was actually very, it adds a little bit more depth to his character.
A little more maturity, as I like to say, because I feel when you look back at the other three titles, it's a lot of just I'm gonna kill everything and anything to get done what I need to get done. He's pissed off. Yeah, right. He's very agitated, and in this one he's a little more reserved. I mean, he's still mad and he still uses his anger to as a means to an end, but not as much as I feel as he did in the first ones.
All right. So we're ready for the second question. Second question for tonight is, what surprised you the most in the game or about the game? God, there's so many different things that just it's hard to pick just one. What actually I think surprised me, and I guess for context, I've only played and beaten God of War 1, the original. I started God of War 2, didn't get very far in it, and I've never played God of War 3 or Ascension. So, but obviously, the progression of the IP so far has pretty much been the same. It's all based on the same mythology, and you're really just it's like killing bosses for the most part is the goal of the thing. And what surprised me the most, I think, is kind of that seamless transition from Greek mythology into Norse mythology, the depth that they went into with the Norse mythology, and how it really, as a different game playing style that they presented, really complemented the other titles rather than making something that was just cut off and completely different. You really, if you had played any of the previous games, you definitely saw nods throughout the entire experience of playing this God of War back to the other pieces of the franchise. And I thought that was really great, and was a great surprise that they really paid homage while making a completely new game in terms of obviously look, feel, but also gameplay. Moose, what do you think?
Surprised me the most, I would say, would be the cursing by the blacksmiths. I mean, you just go into that, and you're just like, it's like, wow, okay, this is where we're at. I mean, which is fine. Like, it's an adult game, that's fine, whatever. But I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna roll with these guys. And I mean, not that I didn't like them at first, but I grew to love them even more. Like their personalities. I thought it was kick-ass. I thought they were good. Whatchamacallit? They were good characters to add, like to add depth to the story. To the narrative. It was a good way to, because like when you get your Blades of Chaos, what is the blacksmith's name? I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Brock or Sindri?
Brock. So Brock is like, hey, where'd you get those? And so, like, kind of have a feeling like he kind of knows where they came from, and so it's pretty cool, and it's interesting. So, like, being a Marvel fan, like seeing the way they handle Norse mythology with Thor and all that, and then reading the actual Norse mythology while I'm like going through the game, like they're in there. Those two brothers created, they created Thor's hammer. They've made a lot of weapons in Norse mythology, and so it's really cool how Santa Monica was like, we're gonna to flesh this universe out. We're bringing like everything in, like we're bringing as much as we can to give this as much depth and authenticity as we can. So I think they did a great job with that. Yeah, I hope to see more of them in the sequel, in the next one, So, Alan, what'd you think?
Yeah. Honestly, the most surprising part for me was the Blades of Chaos, because I just was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, okay.
Because they made such a big thing about the axe.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was going to go through it and with just that.
Right.
And since you get so used to you basically have to learn a whole new battle set, because you're learning throwing it and then calling it back at a certain time, because you have to do things at a certain, like hitting those little spinning things for the chests.
Yeah.
You have to do things, and then next thing you know, and just out of nowhere they just go boom, oh no, here's another thing 3/4 of the way through the game, just here, learn this now.
Right.
And just dropping that on you and then just changing the gameplay up so much with that was just very, very surprising to me, because I just was not expecting that at all.
I mean, they pulled a traditional magician, like, hey, look over here, look what I'm doing over here, and then it's just like, bam, just like come across with that right hook, and you're like, oh my god, you're like, that's crazy.
But that also like added to why that moment when you see him at the house, like wrapping the chains and stuff, just it's so awesome.
You can tell the
'Cause you
emotion
just
that he
were
feels
not
whenever
expecting
he's
it.
wrapping them around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
Totally.
got like chills during that moment. I was just like, whoa,
Same.
like this is awesome. Adnal was
Man, my favorite would have to be the transition from the old style of gameplay that they had for God of War to this new one. That was really surprising. I mean, think about it. You're like all hack and slash. All you want to do is just beat the living hell out of every single guy that gets in front of you. And all of a sudden, you transition over to this, I guess, kind of father figure, because he's still an asshole to his kid to a certain extent. And it's just, you can tell that he's grown a lot more. He's trying to be somebody who he wasn't in his previous life. So that the whole surprise of that type of just transition from the God of War to now what I like to call the Dad of War. It was
God of War, right? Yeah.
God of War.
Jose, what about you?
Well, just how well the combat how they put it together. If you really think about it, it's exactly besides them taking out the jumping. It's exactly the same as the old God of Wars, but just the camera has changed, but it just works so well. Like it was there the whole time, and we didn't even realize that combat has been there the whole time. It's just the different perspective that you get on it has just made it that much better, and it handles so well. And just throwing that axe, calling it back instead, just felt so good, so smooth. Never got tired of it. So that really surprised me. How usually you get that first game when they change things up and something just doesn't quite feel right. Instead, this one's good.
Yeah. Ed, what about you? What was most surprising?
Really, nothing was really surprising combat wise. This is Resident Evil meets Darksiders, and it's Resident Evil, but we learn how to do combat from Final Fight and while using the control mechanics of Darksiders. So that's pretty much what God of War is. Like, really, if you do the
previous ones, wasn't it surprising to have a completely combat?
Because the thing about it is with the previous one, you really just still chain with light and strong. The only thing that it is just a different perspective on how you move. Because you can still do this, you can still do the fighting chains stuff from the original games. Now, if they would have been able to give you more weapons and you could play something, you could fight in it with being able to switch and change weapons while people are in air and do different moves, then it would feel different. But I'm like, you change the perspective. You still plays like a regular God of War game, and you just took other elements from different games and made it work. So, I really wasn't surprised by that. I mean, I'm surprised that it was good. It flowed well. They was able to balance it out. Other than that, I wasn't surprised too much by anything in the game.
Okay.
So,
next question is, were you, since we're talking about the game and we've all beaten it, were you satisfied with the ending? So think about that for a second. Because we've got another question way down the line, which I'm going to go on a rant with, because
oh boy,
it's good. Anyways, I liked the ending. I thought the ending was really good. Finally getting up to the mountain, like seeing the mural on the wall, and like it's been prophesized that this is what's going to happen. Figuring out who the kid is. His mom was actually a giant, and I liked the way the game ended. Personally, I didn't. It was sad that Freya's son had to die, Baldur, right?
Baldur.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad that he had to die at the end of the game. I thought he wasn't really being an asshole per se. I mean, he was trying to find Kratos' wife, because they were looking for who's going to bring upon the end of Asgard. And so I don't think he was being a real dick and asshole. I feel like they did a great job of humanizing him, and you felt sympathy for him. Like his mother took away his feelings for pain and all that, and so he doesn't feel anything, you know? And so when he gets in a fight with Kratos, he's like, I thought, you know, you'd be the one that would make me feel or whatever. And so I feel almost sad for him, and I feel sad that he died, and it's sad for Freya. Apparently she can't let things go. Like, you know,
Which
like...
I have a question. Were all three of them brothers?
Who?
Yeah.
No. The two were Thor's sons.
Yeah.
You were Thor's sons, so Baldur is their uncle. Okay?
Okay. I
okay.
was really confused because I thought because it sounded like Odin was the dad and all three of them came from Odin.
No.
Like nothing with Thor had any piece. Okay.
No.
Thank you for clearing that up. I was completely lost about that whole game with that.
Baldur is the only son of Odin in the game, and then the other two are grandsons. They're Thor's kids. So apparently they're just riding on Baldur's coattails. You know, because I think even Mimir makes a comment to the fact that, like, they just kind of do whatever their uncle says, or they're just hanging out with their uncle or something like that. So,
okay.
Yeah, but I felt sad that they had to die as well. You know, but it's like, hey, what are you gonna do? You're just trying to take your wife's ashes to the top of a mountain, and these mother truckers want to come up in here and wreck shop, and it's like, you know, you're just trying to protect your own. Right, exactly. Get out of the way, like Jose said. You know, you just don't be in my way. So, I like the ending. I also liked the surprise ending. Hopefully everybody saw that as well. Not the surprise ending, but the secret ending, which was pretty cool.
It's not much of a secret, but
well, it's not a secret because everybody's like, just go home, just go home, guys. Yeah. Just go home.
But it just basically tells you at the end of the game. You should probably go home.
You should probably go home, and so you're like, all right, I'll go home. And so you go home, and you get that ending, and that was cool. Obviously, setting up the sequel.
I'm actually a bit upset about that one. That little piece where you go home.
Adnel, go ahead. Were you satisfied with the ending?
I was and I wasn't.
Okay.
I actually do like how they did the ending of the whole, especially that secret ending. How it went along, and you get to see one of the biggest badasses in Norse mythology. Yeah. The reason why I wasn't is because I think they could have done a little bit better on that part. I mean, how many years have passed since Ragnarok started? And they do say it. If I believe it's like what, 6 years, 7? And
wait, in the game?
Yeah, in the game it says sometime later.
I thought it was 2. I thought it was 2 years. You know, it wasn't 6. No, it's like 2.
Okay, yeah. So it was 2 years. But even then, you know, Atreus is like he should have looked a little older. But then again, that's just nitpicking on my part.
Right.
Other than that, the ending is it's phenomenal. I'm sad that it ended, but the ending was phenomenal. I think they did an amazing job on that part.
Okay, Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, obviously, secret ending, awesome. The normal ending, the regular ending, I should say. You know, obviously, I kind of had a feeling from the beginning of the game what the ending was going to be, because it's obviously, you know, they're charged with a mission to go bring their mother's ashes to the top of the mountain and throw them off. So you kind of already knew what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. But I love the way, the details that they added in that moment, and then the way that they actually presented the scene, the cutscene of them actually scattering the ashes off the top of the mountain, with the way the cinematic was shot, the way the music was accompanying it was really great. It really just kind of tied a bow on it.
Right.
Like I mentioned before, you know, with my favorite moment in that leading up to that top of the mountain there with the paint on the wall was also just prior to that, all the hieroglyphics that were on the wall within the giant's like tomb area. Mm-hmm. And you know, it basically showed the Atreus's and Kratos' entire journey that they took, with the exception of the piece that was covered by the tapestry at the end that blew up, which Atreus didn't see, but Kratos did, showing Kratos looking like he was, you know, potentially mortally wounded.
Bite the dust.
So it's like those types of things just like added to the greatness of the ending of the game and how it really came to a nice crescendo at the top, and it was really great.
Nice.
Alan, what do you think?
I kind of want to echo what you said. The ending I thought was great because you kind of knew how everything's going to end. The ashes coming off of the end, they're throwing the ashes off.
Sorry, guys. Breaking concentration.
But I was fully expecting like an apparition of his wife with the ashes, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't have surprised me had that happened, but I'm kind of glad that it didn't in a way, because it just kind of firmly planted that she's gone forever. Like, there's not going to be like some apparitions or ghosts coming back. But what I didn't expect was the big mural that Jeff was talking about. Mm-hmm. That had all the journey, and then of course what he also said the one that Atreus didn't see, which is surprising, seeing that's, to me, I read that as like he's gonna kill him. Atreus will eventually kill Kratos, and that's like heartbreaking in a way, because it's just like, oh, he's played all these games with, you're gonna see this kid kill him, and
it's definitely going to come to a head.
But then the like secret ending with Thor showing up at the end. I thought that was a good little teaser for what's to come, which I was very satisfied with. I mean, I would have loved to see more, but that's just it's just that you gotta. It's the whole like thing of storytelling. You always leave them wanting more. And you get that, and then.
Right.
That way you see that, and it's just great. Like, people know when the sequel comes, or like they kind of know where this is going. Like, oh, maybe it's Kratos versus Thor this time.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So, but there's it leads to a lot of speculation, because it's like, well, maybe Thor's just there to go, hey, what's up? We got a problem over here. Help me.
or Thor could just be there and be like, listen, why do we got to do this? You know what I mean? Because Kratos is sick of it. Personally, like, I don't want to see him go down that path. But it's like, maybe, like you said, Thor's coming, and he's just like, can we just maybe work something out? Exactly. Let's, Ragnarok's here. Like, let's face it together instead of fighting each other tooth and nail. I mean, and then, that could be what happens. That could be a way that they could mix it up.
Sure.
As powerful as they make them. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was say, as like Ragnarok happens, and it's like, this is a bigger problem here. I know you're angry, but this is a bigger problem.
That'd be like you and I on a cruise having a bro fight, and the cruise ship's going down. It's like, hey, we got a bigger issue. What's going on? Like, let's figure this out. So, Ed, what did you think? Did you like it?
The ending was good. It was satisfactory. I like when Kratos took off the little ribbons around his arms, and then he let it fly in the air.
Oh, that was cool.
I thought that was a great moment. The part where it shows artists, transferring the soul to Kratos or vice versa. I kind of think that what will happen with that is that Arceus, God's power, God's side, goes into Kratos to revive him, and now Arceus is like, he doesn't have his God's power like Kratos does, and to revive him, and so now Arceus just has whatever his mom was. So now they're fighting in part 2 or whatever. That they both now got their own powers, and Arceus is now able to fully realize his ability on what he could do in the game. So,
okay.
Because I think killing Kratos off, they would have did it in the third game. I think they would have got rid of him in the third game. If they could do it Infamous 2 with Cole, they would have got rid of Kratos a long time ago.
Yeah, but don't you think it helps establish a new character in the series?
Nobody would have picked up the game. Everybody would be looking for.
No. What I'm saying is, this new God of War helps establish Atreus, and so eventually, maybe in the second or third game, because they'll probably make a trilogy, if they kill off Kratos and you learn to really enjoy, like, what if you play as Atreus in the next one? And maybe it's an alternate between Kratos and him, and you get to learn, like, bow and arrow aspect of it. You get to move. You get to learn, like, the darting around the battlefield. And
how many people know how to play Tomb Raider?
And that's understandable. I understand your point.
And then how many people?
Point. But I'm just trying to say, like, this might be them trying to move the series forward and away from Kratos. And like, Kratos saw that mural on the wall, and I really didn't see any, like, anger about it to be like, okay, we're told that I'm gonna die. I kind of felt, or I kind of saw, like, relief in him. Like, okay, like, I finally get some peace. You know what I mean? Like, I can find peace in death, and will be able, it's coming. So
I see it as, it's a God of War game. So the next God of War, because this being just a great, phenomenal game, everybody's going to pick it up because of the name, and now they accept they want high quality for this game. So even if they change up the story or anything, because it's a God of War game, people are just going to buy it. So
yeah. Okay.
Because if they should have let you play Atreus in this game, so you get a feel of them or idea, or they'll just make a DLC. You'll just pay for it if you care.
I kind of agree with that. They should have at least let you, like they did in The Last of Us. Like, you get to play as Ellie for a pretty good portion of the game, and they should have done that at least to Atreus. That way you can get a feel of the game. Eventually, they're gonna kill Kratos off from the looks of it. Then again, the guy has died so many times throughout the series, and he's come back that we really don't know whether he's actually gonna be gone for real this time or not.
Yeah.
But they should have done that. They should have given Atreus a little bit more of an important role, other than being, boy, get over here,
or his son. In the initial game, when you get to the end, you actually find out, like, if they're gonna adhere to Norse mythology, he's pretty freaking important. But I agree with you. In the game, could have given him a way more important role.
And in a sense, it felt like Kratos was disgusted by Atreus. Like, this is your son, and you calling him boy throughout the whole game. Like, you want him to. It feels like Atreus has to prove something to Kratos, but Kratos, want him to man up. And when Atreus does try to man up, Kratos punishes him for it and yells at it. And it's just like,
because he does it wrong. Like, he's a Spartan. And, like, Spartans are very...
make a mistake and you die.
Exactly.
Which is the problem.
He is trying to teach him the only way that he knows, which is the Spartan way.
Which is the problem with... when we'll probably get into it later on, which is the problem with their relationship.
Okay. Jose, did you like the ending?
Yes, no, yes, no. Like,
is it something you go back and forth with on a daily basis?
Kind of. Well, it was satisfying.
You're like, I like it today. Maybe I don't. Wednesday, maybe.
Well, it's like a love-hate type of thing. I hate that. I loved it, but at the same time, it just, like, I don't know, it just wasn't enough for me. I'm glad that it left, like, open to obviously more games. The whole rise to the top of the mountain was great. Then you see those giants, man. What a sight when you see the dead giants just sprawled all over the floor. It just goes to show how grandiose, like, the whole thing was. The secret mural over there that Atreus didn't get to see. I don't know if everybody has, like, a different interpretation of it and stuff, and I've been seeing some conspiracies going around. My interpretation was that Kratos, the serpent, is coming out of Kratos, not that he's being killed or anything. And then there's a conspiracy theory or whatever going around that says that Kratos is the serpent. That Atreus turned him into it, and that he goes back in time, and that's why the snake has like the goatee, and if you look at his skin and stuff, it's kind of like the same color as his skin, you know, red and white. It has like
that's really reading into it. Not you, but the fans out. I mean, that is that's
I
like
would
Dark
have agreed
Souls.
with that. I would have agreed with that if it wasn't because of the strange language. Because I mean, when you think about it.
Well, the serpent also. Remember, they said that Mimir says that the serpent recognizes Atreus.
Yeah.
But how could he, you know, recognize if he's never seen him before? So, according to the legend or whatever, is I think Thor, somebody hits this world serpent so hard it goes back in time.
Yeah.
So,
well, because like the story is like Thor goes fishing with some dude, and the dude's like, I don't want to go. I don't like. We don't need to be fishing. And Thor pulls up the world serpent, and then it's just like a brawl.
Yeah, basically.
Like in the game, like they're all assholes. Like Thor's an asshole, Odin's an asshole. Like you're not like it's not like what you're used to, quote unquote, with Marvel. And to be honest, like when you read the history, you know, or you read the mythology, like you go Google it or something, they don't seem to be assholes in that. But so it's just like, okay, like you're making these people out to be assholes. So I guess they have to give you something to hate. But it's just like I don't like. Why do they have to be assholes? Why can't they just be people trying to preserve... I guess Odin is just trying to preserve his way of life and his people's way of life. Yeah. And, you know, he's doing what he's doing. And Thor's just out there being a dick. Like, you pull up a serpent and you're just like, okay, my first response is just to beat it back into history, you know?
Yeah, they had they were releasing a podcast once a month leading up to the release of the game. Mm-hmm. And it was called Lost Pages of something. It's basically, you know, like the story leading up to the game. And if you listen to that one, you know, it goes into the mythology of how this whole thing started, even before Kratos was even involved. And basically, Thor was just a douche. You know, he's a really douchey, grandiose type of guy. You know, he only cares about himself. He only cares about like showing everybody how badass he is. And he's basically one of those guys that would just punch you in the face if he just felt like it, according to these, you know, to these stories. So,
or hit you with a hammer, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm interested to see how they pull this off, and with the secret ending, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. You know, you vaguely see him. You barely get a glimpse at his face. You know, so I'm wondering if they did that on purpose because his the way he looks might change in the next game or the coming up games. Who knows? But you know, he fits the role of Thor and stuff. But that's one of the things that I had an issue with the ending of this game, because throughout the whole game, you know, Odin this, Thor that, Odin this, Thor that. You hear it over and over and over again, and then you literally never see them until
they never show up.
The very end. You see Thor for like 2 seconds.
But did Zeus show up in the first 3? Wasn't Zeus made out to be the bad guy in the first 3, and you don't see him till 2 or 3?
Yeah, but the gods were like they were. I guess it's like it's good, and this is what I'm conflicted with. You know, it's like it's good and it's bad at the same time. Because in the original games, the gods were involved from the get go. You know what I mean? You see Athena, you see Ares, you see all of them. They're there. You know, you see them. They talk about them. You're gonna see them eventually. Zeus, they talked about him and stuff, but you know. You really don't get to fight him until the end. But this is like, you don't even see a glimpse. You know what I mean? But it's also a good thing because like it kind of like leaves you wanting more.
Exactly. I think that's the biggest thing. You know, like, here's where you're going. You know, here's where you're going. You know, like, it's like you know,
it's like a 10-year commitment here, man. I don't know if I want to wait.
You're going to be, you know, like a year from now, you're going to be the trimmest you've ever been, you know, be able to lift the most weight you can. But, like, now you actually have to get into the gym and work out and do all that stuff. So that's the battle you're fighting, not that end result. So it's kind of, that's what they're kind of doing. They're kind of like, okay, like, Odin, Thor, and it's like, okay, well, you got to get through this guy first. I guess you got to get through Baldur first.
I'm most spoiled by the old games, you know, because everybody that's played the old games and stuff, the whole game is just intense battles, you know, with giants and monsters and whatever. Cyclops. And it's like, yeah, it's like every battle in the old games is like it's a spectacle. You know, it's crazy, it's enormous, and all that stuff. And then, not that there wasn't that much of that in this, and not necessarily that wasn't a bad thing. You know, it's just that's how it was spoiled from the first 3 games. To think like, oh man, it's gonna lead us to like this crazy battle right at the end. The Earth is gonna shatter in half or something. But you know, not that the fight was bad, but it wasn't that. You know, and that kind of like let it. But it's a good thing because it leaves me wanting more.
Yeah, I think the fight with the dragon was actually one of the most exciting things in the whole game itself.
And that wasn't even as big compared to the other games, but it was still a good fight. You know?
Yeah.
Something I wanted to tell you guys is that if you actually read into Norse mythology, you can actually see the Norse gods were actually assholes, especially Odin. Odin was a really big asshole. The difference is that in this game, they make him over, like, to the extreme. That's what they're doing. Obviously, you know, you got to find a bad guy. You got to have a bad guy.
Right. I mean, that's the whole thing. So hopefully he shows up in the sequel. Jeff, next question.
Yep. So next, 4th question in the list here. We kind of talked about this a little bit already, but we can dive into it a little more. Leviathan Axe or Blades of Chaos? What is your preference? And
that's hard.
So I, like I said, I've only played the first God of War game all the way through, and just maybe a few hours of the second one. So I don't really have like quite the, maybe affinity is the right word for the Blades of Chaos as to some of you guys do. I do still think that the reveal of it in this game was pretty epic, and the way they translated the way they work in the older games versus the way they work in this new game pretty well. But that being said, I have to pick Leviathan Axe. There is nothing more satisfying than recalling that axe and hearing that thunk as it hits your hand, and it doesn't get tiresome hearing that through the entire game. Like literally from it's like thunk. It's awesome, and especially like if you like throw the axe and it embeds in something, and then you're finished the fight and you forget that you've embedded it, and you walk away and you're like super far away, even not necessarily on the same horizontal plane, but even if you go vertically or up or down an elevator or something and then recall it, you can hear it bouncing off stuff as it travels all the way back to you, no matter how far away you are. So that's pretty cool. So I have to give it to Leviathan Axe for my choice there. Moose, how about you?
I would say Leviathan Axe, just because it's something new. It adds a little more depth with combat. Like you can use it to freeze enemies in place and go to town on other ones and then come back to it. Like it just adds a little more versatility than the Blades of Chaos, which are actually like on you. Like you can't, like you can't like throw those into somebody and come back to them. Like you're hooked to them. You know what I mean? So the Leviathan Axe has its advantage. Obviously, the Dwarven brothers made it, and the same Dwarven brothers who made, according to Greek to Norse mythology, made Thor's hammer. So it's almost up there as far as being just as devastating of a weapon. So I go with Leviathan Axe. Jose, what do you got, man? What do you think?
Well, in the previous games, obviously I would always pick Blades of Chaos because they were the main weapon. They were the main weapon, even though you had a dead variety.
Right.
But in this one, it's super balanced. You know what I mean? Like you never feel like overpowered with one over the other, instead because they change the enemies, according to their weaknesses. It's either fire or ice, and I just think that it was well balanced, and I just couldn't pick. But I did find myself going back to the Blades of Chaos just because it was so satisfying to see them whipping around and then jump up and slam them down to the ground. You see all these guys flying everywhere. Just brings it back, to the old. I mean, they're literally the same combos from the old games, and you can, except for the fact that you're using the top buttons, it's the same button presses. It's swing, and then bam,
Slam.
and it's like it's good, it's satisfying and stuff. I guess if I really had to pick one, I'd just say Blades of Chaos, just because of the original games and stuff. But the Leviathan S is really well, and calling it back, like Jeff said, calling it back and hearing it, hit your hand and stuff. The sound of it too is like it gives it like a weighty sound, and because Kratos is like a god, he's so solid and strong. It's like his hand doesn't budge, but he's so strong, So, but Blades of Chaos, it's always gonna be my favorite, just because they're the original. But Leviathan Axe is up there, man. I can't knock it.
Ed, what about you?
Blades of Chaos. It had more special. It had
2-2, guys. 2-2.
It had more special abilities to the Leviathan Axe. There's a point later on in the game when you get the Blades of Chaos that when you use the special, when you hit people, your energy goes up. If you losing health, you don't really, you don't really get that much with the Leviathan Axe. If you really want to pretty much just punching them without the axe does more damage. It finishes enemies more quicker than the Leviathan axe. And plus, it was stupid that the Blades of Chaos is fully upgraded before you even get the Leviathan axe fully upgraded. Like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would you? I would have did the Leviathan axe, since that's your main weapon that you started the game off with, to upgrade that first before you upgrade the Blades of Chaos. It was just weird on how they did that.
I think they did that probably because the Blades of Chaos have been with him longer. It's like, it's kind of like, you know.
But you introduced a whole new weapon for players to use, and you focus and you mark them most of the game on what you do with the axe. So why would you just throw in the Blades of Chaos to satisfy fans and make that more powerful than the new weapon that you put in?
I don't necessarily think it's more powerful, because if you level the Leviathan axe up, it's just as powerful. I just think it was more the narrative that brought the Blades of Chaos back. I don't think they brought. I mean, I'm sure like some part of them was like, hey, let's get him into the game, but you know, he needed to use them to do what he was doing to save his son, and so that's why they were brought back. And so I feel, personally, I switched to the Blades of Chaos and started using them like crazy, and then I went right back to the axe. You know, because in my personal opinion, I was like, I've been there, done that. I played 1, parts of 2, and I'm like, I've already got the whipping the chain around with the blade on the end. I've got it down. You know, I want to play around with this axe. You know, so I could see where you're going. Why would you upgrade the blades first fully? But I mean, he knows that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's his shit, you know? I mean, like Kratos knows what he's doing with the Blades of Chaos. So.
It just feels weird on Santa Monica's part that they will put that in, that you now have to level grind to get your axe fully upgraded before your blades, before the game is over.
It's like when John Wick goes back to his guns, you know? He pulls out his guns after he's been retired. Yeah. That's the exact same thing. It's almost the exact same thing.
And he's using a shotgun or whatever. Like he's
literally both of them pop a little box out from underneath the floorboards, and then there's their weapons, and they go back to
and then they go to work.
But
we didn't know that, John. We didn't know that John Wick was cuckoo crazy with his gun.
He's not cuckoo crazy. He's cuckoo good. He's
cuckoo. I mean, he's cuckoo crazy ass in. Goodness, you was just killing folks left and right, because, like, okay, I'm in.
An underrated weapon is the bow, man. Nobody talks about the bow that Atreus has. That thing came in handy, and whenever you do the summons, you know that saved my ass a whole bunch of times. So you know, good job on that thing, Santa Monica, with the bow on Atreus, especially the variety, you know. Shock or slowing them down. So came in handy a lot.
It was nice. I ended up upgrading him more so than Kratos' stuff as I was playing. So like if we're gonna compute it to Dark Souls or Bloodborne, he was my strength stat. Like I would put all my points into him before I'd even come to to put stuff into for Kratos. So Adnel, what about you, man? What would you go with?
It's hard, man, because as a fanboy of the trilogy, and man, I don't care. I'm a fanboy of the trilogy for that.
That's fine, man. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
I would say, man, would say the Blades of Chaos. But hold on, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
In this game, though, I love the axe. The axe was freaking awesome. It was like the axe actually reminded me a lot of like the weight of it and the way it made you feel. It reminded me a lot of God of War 1's Blade of Artemis.
Okay.
It wasn't nearly as fast, but it felt heavy. Like when you swung it around, it felt heavy. Like you dealt a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, I would give him a tie in this game. I love the Blades of Chaos and they're my thing, but the Leviathan axe is just amazing.
Thinking of this, the Leviathan axe is Kratos' master sword in a sense, like Link's master sword. I mean, think about it, because the Leviathan axe is, when you upgrade the master sword to its full power, it's like kind of the best thing to have. So
the axe does have a lot more uses than the Blades of Chaos does. So I'll give him that. In versatility, I'll give the axe the upper hand.
Yeah.
But the Blades of Chaos are just, the Blades of Chaos, man. But I'll definitely give him a tie.
Okay. Alan, what about you?
That's hard because both are so good.
Exactly.
They're both so good.
I say it like this.
Like, what do you pick?
I say it like this: The Legend of Zelda versus Castlevania.
See, that's hard too.
That is hard too, bro.
Literally think about it. Which weapon would you have fun playing in either game? Do you have fun playing with Link's sword, or do you have fun playing as the whip in Castlevania?
I feel that's a loaded question because the whip takes a little more time to get used to.
That is true.
Like the sword is just like you swing and you're good to go. But I mean that. Alan, so you're just yeah.
No, it's they're both so good, but in context of this particular game, because I have played the original trilogy. I didn't play Ascension. I just never got around to playing that. I wanted to, but just never did. But in context of just this one, I'm not thinking about the other three. I'm gonna go with the axe.
Okay.
Because that one, your attacks, while you could swing it around and everything, the axe, the attacks are more calculated because you actually have to aim it and then hit them, and then hopefully, so you have to recall it at a certain time and maybe trip someone, take some damage when it's coming back, that kind of stuff. And then in context of this game, the Blades of Chaos are awesome, but it's very much it feels very much like an area attack to me.
Yeah,
where you just hit it and it just takes up the whole, like, everything around you. It attacks everything, as where the axe is very calculated. You have to aim it, you have to hit, stuff like that. There's a little more thought and precision to it.
I feel the same way.
I appreciate it.
You can't just go swinging the axe. Like, you need to, like, I often found myself, like, freezing a dude in place.
Mm-hmm.
And then doing damage with a fist, and then when I pull it back, it kills that guy off, like another guy off or something like that. So I agree it is more calculated than the Blades of Chaos. Mm-hmm. So that's also another reason why it went out with me. So, question number 5. Boy. Is Boy a better Ellie?
No, he was annoying.
No.
He was a little smart ass at certain times. He was a little smart ass.
Oh yeah. I wanted to smack him.
So here's the thing. So maybe we need to split this even more.
He was more helpful, definitely.
So story wise,
that's for sure.
Story wise, okay, who is better? And then combat wise, who is better? Because he was sure as shit 10 times better than Ellie was combat wise. Like 1,000 times better. 1,000 times better. So don't even come at me with that crap. You can just close, just get out of Google Hangouts. You're off the podcast because he is just straight up trash when it comes to playing Last of Us. But
man, I died because of her a few times.
Yes, and thank you. So I'm gonna throw it to Ed. Yes or no? Is Boy a better Ellie? I guess what I should ask is he a better quote unquote
character?
No, escort character type. Because that is kind of what he is. You're helping him get to the top of the mountain to put the ashes, and so you are escorting him. You know,
in gameplay he was, in story he wasn't.
Now, see, I can agree with that. I will give you that. I'll give you that. Okay. You want to elaborate on it more, or you good with that answer? It
was the most obnoxious thing that Santa Monica could do with this character. You kill the deer, or he's afraid to kill the deer, and all timid, and the Kratos have to do it. But then you fight the big monster, and now he wants to rage out and kill it, and it's just like the tone of this is off. Even the part I was talking about with the monocratic when he gave the axe to Atreus, and when he comes back, Atreus had just killed all the enemies, and Atreus is mad at Kratos, and then the game starts. He be like, "Okay, I think we need to go this way." It's like, what is with the tone shift? Like, this is so stupid.
A lot of people. What's going on here?
But when the AI's control, well, of course the AI's controlling them, but when you guys are working together in the game, it works out. I mean, I hate that little flying witch demon thing because she was annoying hitting it. Because when you ran out of arrows and you had to deal with those, you'd be like, oh crap. So
they were annoying.
In gameplay he was. In story he just was obnoxious.
Jose?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Definitely, he was way better in combat than Ellie. Ellie just had the better story. Had I felt more of a connection, like more of an emotional connection in that game. Because there was some parts where I just wanted to smack that kid right upside his head, and
especially after he learns he's a god.
Exactly, yeah. And he starts getting lippy and stuff, and acting like a douche. Yeah, what is it like? It's like I guess in this game in Norse mythology or whatever, like as soon as you're a god, you have to be a douche.
It's like instantaneous.
So yeah, at times I wanted to smack that kid, but then at the same time, I think that overall, just if you're gonna compare both games in that aspect, I'd have to give the nod to Atreus just overall. But in the emotional connection type of sense, Ellie takes it hands down.
Yeah. Adnel, what you got, man?
Man, it's gonna be the same answer.
Okay, that's fine. You're allowed to have the same answer.
Emotionally, definitely, Ellie takes the cake. Ellie she connected with you in a way that it made you feel like even if you weren't the father at the time, it made you feel like you were her father figure, like you were trying to protect her. Mm-hmm. In this case, Atreus, I swear, I wanted to grab him by his toes and just throw him down the mountain sometimes.
Yeah.
Because he was just obnoxious, the back talking. I'm like, dude, you really don't know who your father is. You need to calm the hell down.
Yeah.
And obviously, Kratos is not going to do anything about that. But you could tell that Kratos was trying to keep the inner peace.
Woosah, right?
Woosah.
Yeah. Definitely
but as in terms of combat, he was a little badass. In terms of combat, he was the shit.
Yeah.
Ellie, in that sense, Ellie is shit. In that sense.
Yeah. Alan, what do you got, man? Which did you like more?
As a character, I preferred Ellie.
Okay.
I thought that her arc was stronger, especially the feeling, connecting with her, at the end when with God, what's his name? Joel. What he makes the decision at the end. I'm like, what the fuck is his name?
That guy's name that decided he was more important than mankind. I don't know.
Yeah, basically. But combat is just infinitely better with Atreus.
Yeah,
because you actually did something.
Plus the fact that he can revive you after you, like if you die once, that was awesome. That was so useful, especially against the Valkyries. God damn, I hate those things.
I can imagine that like Atreus probably can swim too.
Yeah, probably. That's a good point. I mean, I feel the big advantage that Atreus has is he's on PS4 and Ellie's stuck on PS3. So, we should revisit this conversation when Last of Us 2 comes out. You know, and Naughty Dog's really throwing down the gauntlet with Ellie. Because she's hopefully, obviously, going to be the main character. So unless Joel's still in it, which would be awesome if he is.
Yeah.
Joel's got to be the bad guy.
That would be cool. So Alan, you were going to say? Finish up.
I was going to say, like, because Atreus actually jumps on your back when you're climbing stuff. As where Ellie's like, no, get that platter, that piece of wood, so I can ride it.
2 feet
Come on.
deep. And you're like, get the fucking water.
You know,
language, but I mean, you feel like just get in the water, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I know your feelings on it, Moose, but I adore The Last of Us. Ellie's that part of Ellie, I was like, oh come on,
right?
You know,
just
come on.
It's actually, I feel like there's a better game than both of them.
No one asked you, Ed. We're not talking about some extinct Nintendo game.
Actually on PS4. I think The Last Guardian, I think narratively and relationship-wise, I think The Last Guardian is better than the relationship in God of War and The Last of Us.
Ooh. Now, see, I'm going to have to play that to...
Yeah, I never played that.
That's a good game. Okay. That's a tall statement.
That is.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, if I post on your page, you're out of your freaking mind. That's what I'm talking about.
Now,
you're out of your mind.
One question.
Who
is older, Ellie or Atreus?
I think Ellie is older.
Ellie is. I'd say Ellie is probably around like 12, 13. Atreus seems like he's like 9 or 10 to me.
Yeah, I think he's like 10.
Yeah.
See, I was going to go, she's even older. Like, she's 13, 14. And he's like 11 or 12. I mean, you know, whatever. It's still the same age gap.
I wouldn't disagree with it, but yeah.
I think he was like, Atreus was like 7 or 8. Because for him to keep calling me called boy, you know, I think if he was like a teenager, I think Kratos would have called him by his name.
No, he would still call him boy.
Yeah, knowing Kratos, you probably still call him boy.
I think he would have shown more. I think he would have shown more respect and acceptance if you kept calling him Atreus throughout the whole game. I think with 7 and 8, when you call your son a boy like every 58 million times, then it just you'd be like, okay, you're a lower age. You haven't became a certain age to be a certain age.
Jeff, what do you think, Ellie or Atreus?
Well, this is kind of an unfair decision because it's been such a long time since I played Last of Us. But, you know, I guess I wasn't as nitpicky about the different ways that Atreus was portrayed to us. I kind of just equated some of his like lash outs and things to the way he feels about Kratos versus his mother. He obviously had a much closer relationship with his mother and really just felt like Kratos didn't really pay attention to him or love him the way that his mother did. So he's trying to seek approval, and so he's going to have these waves of, you know, lashing out versus trying to honestly get his attention or win his approval and so forth. But I think there were certain things about the way that the game was and the story was told between the two characters that really just made me kind of gravitate towards Atreus more. You know, there's certain things like just the story time that they had in the boat. I mean, it was a brilliant way for for the story writers and developers to kind of fill that time that we have while paddling around the water.
Yeah.
The fact that just subtle things like, when you dock the boat and they're in the middle of the story, they're like, oh, I'll just get back to that story later. It's like that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I thought it just built upon the way that the character is. I can't complain, obviously, about the combat. I agree with you guys on the combat in terms of that. It's hands down, it's definitely Atreus. But I think from character standpoint, I also like Atreus better, just from the overall experience and the way he was presented.
Okay. Awesome. All right, you want to handle the next question?
All right, number 6 is who was your favorite character in the game? For me, at least initially, it was a toss-up between Brock and Sindri. I think overall it's going to be Sindri, just because I like Sindri's more subtle approach with the humor, and just the little things that he would say that were just completely hilarious. Versus, Brock obviously appreciated his character too, but obviously with his more abruptness or swearing and stuff like that, it was a little bit more jarring at times. But not that it bothered me. And he was also funny, but not as much as Sindri. I think Sindri is the better of the two, and I think he's probably my favorite character.
Okay. Personally, I'm gonna go with Mimir. Mimir was my favorite. I loved Mimir. Meeting him on top of the mountain. You gotta cut the dude's head off. It just, his subtleties, he's like, I know who you are. And then, he doesn't, and then when, he finally finds out, he's like, I thought that's, Athena was, the giveaway, or whatever. And so, you're just, his sense of humor is great. He takes over telling stories in the boat. It's initially Kratos, who's got some pretty funny stories, and pretty funny ways to look at things. And they end pretty abruptly. The crazy guys looking for the guys on the boat who are crazy looking for the maidens of the water. And they're like, well, what did you do with him? He's like, we just threw him overboard. That's it. Nothing else. That's what so I mean, to go from his storytelling was great. And then to go to Mimir's, it was awesome. And Mimir would take over and start telling stories to help fill Atreus in on the background and things, because he's coming from Norse mythology. So Mimir has that connection, and he can help fill in the gaps for you story wise. I also liked him in combat, because he'd be like, hey, he's over here, and somebody's coming from behind you if Atreus is busy trying to kill somebody, and he would tell you, oh, that hurt, if somebody was able to slash through you and would hit him and stuff. And so I thought it was pretty cool, his interaction with the characters and the other characters in the game, and then his narrative portion of being on the boat. So that's my pick for favorite character. Adnel, what you got, man?
Man, I would have to go with Mimir as well. Mimir was, I would sit on the boat just to listen to Mimir talk.
Yeah.
It's just, he's funny. He could be serious at certain times. The way that he just, his storytelling was just amazing. He was on point. I love Mimir. Mimir as a character was he was awesome. He was basically everything. He was, I don't know, he's just, the way that they made him out to be was just, he was awesome. He could be serious. He could joke around all the time. Obviously, when you got to cut his head off, he tells Kratos, oh, I know who you are, and you got to tell the boy. And then Kratos tells him, okay, I got to cut your hair. I'm going to cut your head now. And Mimir's like, fair enough. Yeah,
he's like, fair enough. What am I going to do, right?
Yeah, so definitely Mimir. Mimir would be my favorite character in the game.
Okay. Jose?
Just following in the trend, Mimir. He's a good new addition to the franchise. I think they did a great job of making him the storyteller to kind of fill us in on the Norse mythology. Because how many of us went in there and weren't, we came out of this game knowing more about Norse mythology than we've ever known. Some of us at least. And that was a great way of doing it. You know, he's there, but he's not intrusive. You don't have to watch out for him when you're fighting because he's literally hanging off your belt. You know, I think it was, you know, he was implemented well, and I often found myself, you know, being on the little boat, and when I'd come to the shore, I wouldn't get off because I wanted him to finish the story. Because as soon as you get off, he's like, "Oh, we'll continue it later." But now I want to hear it now, so I'm just, you know, I would just stay on there a lot of times, and you know, I'd catch myself, you know, just like waiting for him to tell another story or something. It was really interesting the way they did that, and I'm glad they went that way.
Okay. All right. Ed, what you got, buddy?
Freya. I thought Freya, she was kind of more human in a sense and motherly to Atreus and to Kratos, and kind of like that where in a sense that it felt like she was Kratos' actual real wife. Like like if the way that they kind of interact and stuff, and I was just like, if y'all was married, y'all would be like a real couple in the real world. Cause something about Kratos being a protective dad and Freya being a protective mother and helpful to Atreus, it's just like for some reason you three work together, and you know, when she sees her son getting killed and stuff, you know, with the anger and the pain and, you know, bringing all destruction to Kratos. But Kratos is just like, I want you to live because in reality, you did so much for us to complete on our journey that, you know, your reward is continuing life. Yeah, you won't have your son in or anything, but, you know, for you to have a chance to live, you know, you know how crazy your son is, and you shouldn't allow your son trying to take your life because of. And Kratos, in a way, he was just like, if that was you doing it to your mother, I would kill you too.
Yeah.
So, Freya for me was the best.
I think what makes her a better character is actually the fact that she doesn't want to realize that her son is a monster, and the reason he's a monster is because of her.
Yeah.
All right.
What about Kratos' new look, man? You guys like it, or because I mean, he's kind of essentially kind of like a new character. You know, he's all old and aged and withered and stuff. But yeah, and you know, he's got some miles on him and stuff. I thought that new you know look on him was pretty cool and stuff. Change it up a bit.
He looks badass.
It was weird.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was weird that, you know, he looked old, but he just had, you know, no bones was cracking. He didn't like, oh, my back is going out. He didn't have nothing like it was ailing him. He was just like, I'm gonna punch you 50 times and then just crush you. And I'm like, you are probably 700 years old, and yet you feel like you're like 25 and can do anything. Just it's so weird, kind of unbalanced. But I guess cool.
There are certain parts in the game that you can tell that Kratos is getting old because he himself says it. It's like, oh man, you know, I'm getting tired. Like, oh holy shit, I'm starting to feel it. Like the fight with in fact, the fight with Baldur, the first fight, he actually, you can notice that Kratos is getting older because he can keep up with Baldur.
He's lost his step,
but he's lost his touch. He's not as the Kratos that he was once before.
But then he does lose his touch because he's moving. He's moving like, I mean, he's moving around like he's a train. Like, and moving just fast and killing and you dodging and rolling and stuff. It's just like you're tired in the cutscene, but in gameplay, you're not heaving a hole. But you be like, let's go to the next area and do the same thing over. And it's just like, well, that's odd.
I mean, that's game aesthetics. So you can't really look at it that way.
But you heaving and hovering in the cutscene, but you can't heat and hold in the actual gameplay. You just killed 50 enemies, threw your axe 16,000 times, chain whipped everybody, and then you're just jogging around to the next area. But in a 5-second cutscene, no.
Why, that's like a workout, man. You do like 30 minutes on the treadmill, you get off, you're like, so I mean, come on,
Breathing exercise.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Alan, we missed you, didn't we? With the favorite character, yeah. So I want to hear what your favorite character is.
Favorite character?
Real quick.
I think it would go. I like the arc of Freya.
Okay, another Freya.
The motherly type. She helps you out and everything, and then she essentially turns into a villain.
Right?
By all accounts, right? She turns into a villain.
Yeah.
So and it's I think that's just awesome to see the character arc, and that was really really interesting to me. And I think what's his name? Mimir had some great stories, and he was a great addition to the story and everything. But I think my interest in Freya's arc is greater than what Mimir had to say.
Okay. I just like Mimir because he was. I'm sorry. What was that?
What was that?
That Freya, we later find out that she's the queen of the Valkyries.
Yeah.
So that's a good direction that they hit. Spoilers, I guess. But
it's a spoiler cast. People should be watching if they don't want to know.
You defeat the Valkyries, all the Valkyries, and at the end you find out that she's the queen of them, and how's that gonna lead into the next game? Especially with her now, she's got like this grudge against Kratos because he just killed her son, which. I mean, that whole part right there was like, are you going to kill him or are you not going to kill him? Like, she wants you to kill him. She doesn't want you to kill him. It's like,
well,
okay.
I think it was a cool setup when before Freya found out about the green arrows that Kratos took a piece off, put it on his little handle thing, and then that little part that you don't really think of played a bigger part in the end of that fight.
Yeah. Because it was holding on his quiver, wasn't it?
Yeah,
mistletoe.
Mistletoe.
Yeah.
They call it, yeah.
But I mean,
something that I like, and if you really haven't read into Norse mythology, that would have gone completely over your head.
Yeah,
because if you read on Norse mythology, the way that he's killed is because of Loki. He gives Baldur's brother, one of his brothers, he gives him a lance made out of what's it called? What's that plant called? Mistletoe. Yeah, it's he gets a spear made out of mistletoe, and they chug it at Baldur because that was like a running joke for the Norse gods. They would throw a whole bunch of stuff to Baldur to see because he couldn't get hurt. And if you don't know that, that actually goes right over your head on that specific part where Freya tells, "What are you doing with those arrows? No, give me those arrows. Get rid of them. They're evil."
Yeah, don't ever use these if you ever find them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that was pretty cool.
Oh, did you use them before you get to Freya?
Yeah.
I don't know. Something tells me that Freya is gonna get over her grudge, though. Like I don't think Freya's gonna be that character that's gonna be after the whole time. She's about to create a whole new. I think she's about to create a whole new.
I think she's
area or something for.
Here's the thing. I think she's going to be the villain of the main villain of the second one, and then they're going to bleed into possible Thor being involved. Like Thor could be the underling, and she's like the main one you have to kill, and then Odin won't show up until the third one. That's like he'll be a major part in the third one, and then you have to deal with him in that one. So, all right. So, question 7. What was your least favorite thing about the game? What did you absolutely?
This is one of the most easiest.
What? I'm sorry. What'd you say, Ed? You said what?
He's ready. He's ready. Let him.
Yeah, he's like, all right, Ed, go ahead, run away. What is your?
Once again, stop doing this resource crap to upgrade stuff. This was horrible in Uncharted. No, not Uncharted. This was horrible in Horizon. It doesn't make sense. If you get more money and experience than you get the resources to upgrade stuff, why can I not just buy it at the shop?
Right.
Why can I not just buy it at the shop, upgrade it, and be on my merry way? Now I got to do 15,000 steps to grind this, turn this game into an MMO, and then get the little piece thing. And by the time I actually buy it, I find something more powerful during the version of grinding than buying it. And it doesn't make sense.
Look at it this way, though. It gives you an incentive to explore. I mean,
you already explored throughout the whole game.
Well, here's the thing. So I echo everything Ed just said. The resource, like resources, trying to go. I've got to go to this realm, kill so many people to get this, and so the upgradability could have been dealt with a little bit better. I feel like I only did it once, so I went to the Fire Realm and did all the trials there. I never went back to try and see if I could redo them to refarm materials, and so I'm not sure if you can. And so if you can, that's cool because you'll need, you can make all those sets. But if you can't, then you can only make one set and you're done. You know what I mean? Like that's it. But then you need those materials to upgrade it. So not only do you need the materials to make it, they make you get that same material to upgrade the weapons. And so that was I made one set pretty late in the game. I made one of the lava sets when you first get to explore the different realms, and I made that set and I wore it all the way through to the end of the game. I never went and got, I never looked for anything else that was better. Never looked, I was just like, your resource management is a nightmare for me. So I'm gonna deal with what I got and I'll beat the game.
And the bad thing is for me throughout it, I beat it without like really doing that many upgrades for like armor and stuff. Yeah. You only doing all of that stuff to fight the Valkyries. You're not really doing it for the game itself.
Yeah, you're just upgrading for them. Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's the end game. The Valkyries really are the end game of God of War. That's the whole. We even go to Niflheim? The fire place.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah. That's
I really wanted that pommel for the axe, and that pommel for the axe was, it looked badass, and it was actually really good. And the fact that you can't get it to beat the final boss, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. So and now, what was your least favorite thing?
Oh man, since I love the previous games, I love the fact that you had such a variety of weapons. You have the bow of Apollo, Typhon's bow, blade of Artemis, spear. I forgot the name of the spear, but the fact that you only get 2 weapons throughout the game was kind of like okay, like that sucks. Like I get why they did it, but it sucks. I wish we had more. Like I wish we were able to craft. We have the best 2 craftsmen of all of Norse mythology, Brock and Sindri.
Yeah.
And they can't make something new for us. That sucks. Look at God of War 3, when you go into Hephaestus' lair, he makes a weapon for you. You end up killing him eventually, but he makes a weapon for you. And the weapons are extremely badass. They're unique in their own way. So I think that's my least favorite thing of the game. You didn't have the variety of weapons.
So you only had like the 2. Well, 3 including your son's bow.
But even then, that's not even yours. That's
that's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Like those are the only 3 things that you have.
Actually 4, because you got the bow, you got the blades, you got the shield, and you got the axe.
But the shield's not even a weapon.
The shield's not a weapon. You use it, but it's not upgradable.
That would have been something nice.
But when he punched him, sometimes he pushed. He sometimes pushes him with the shield, and then we use the shield to deflect the fireballs right back to him. Yeah, that's could be considered as a weapon because you get that ability to use it. So why not?
This is the way I look at the shield. I look at the shield as Kratos' golden fleece from 2 and 3. That's what it was. It was just there to sometimes you use it to hit, but it was just there for literally deflecting and throwing back like projectiles. That's literally all it was. Now, if they would have added a mechanic to which you can actually there's a game that's very similar to God of War. It's for the PS2, where the main weapon of the main character is a shield, and you throw that shield.
Rygar?
Yes. So he grabs the shield and he actually throws it and he uses it as a weapon. If they would have done something like that with the shield, that would have actually been pretty badass.
Yeah.
But then he would have turned into Captain American, and then
Well, he already is with the. He's Thor with the.
He's throwing the axe already.
Yeah, with the throwing the axe, and he's Captain America with being able to just call up the shield whenever he needs it. But Jose, what was your least favorite thing about the game?
The stupid Odin crows, man. I'm literally I'm working towards the platinum. Okay. I have 2 trophies left. One of them is the treasures that are buried. I'm doing okay finding those, but those stupid birds, man. I have like 1 or 2 here and there in certain areas, and I'm crawling all over the place, looking at every nook and cranny and stuff, and I just can't. And I don't want to look at a guide, because I want to feel like I earned this platinum and stuff. But I think that I've done enough to where I'm just gonna end up looking at a guide and just whatever.
Did you find all the cabinets?
I've found everything except the birds and those a few of the treasures. So those are literally the 2 last things I have left to get the damn platinum. And I hate those birds, man. I hate them.
Are you going to delete it as soon as you platinum it? Or are you just going to be like, Control-Alt-Delete, get it out of here?
No, I'm not going to delete it because I want to... Once you beat the game, you can still roam around and stuff, but some of the set pieces, you just don't get to enjoy them anymore unless you play through the game all over again. So I'd like to play through it once more, and so just to get those experiences, just one last look, and then after that, unless I seriously doubt they're gonna do a new game plus, because it would just kind of like break the game, especially since you don't get the Blades of Chaos until halfway through the game. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, I don't really see any reason for me to keep it on there, just taking up space. Yeah. But I bought it digitally, so I could just re-download it anytime.
Alan, what was your least favorite thing?
Probably the collectibles, like you said, or not collectibles, the resources.
Oh, the resources.
That's just because there's times when I'm like, you go and you see the buy option, and then there's like only 2. You can only buy 2. And then there it is. It's like, well, where's the rest of it? Like, I just want to pay you like 2,000 for something,
Right. You have like 200,000.
Yeah, and you're like, I can buy a bunch of this and make all this stuff,
Yeah.
But the other thing I don't know if I would say it's a negative, but it was like I wish there was more enemy variety. There was a lot, but it was like I felt like I was fighting the same ogre over and over again.
Yeah,
different skins.
Yeah.
Just I get to destroy him and then pull the big piece of wood on his head again and again and again. And don't get me wrong, they're fun. I wish there was those particular like boss battles or something would have a little bit more variety to them. Maybe a Cyclops or something or whatever that had and that would allow for different animations, like kill animations. This one, it was a lot of, and then, so like when you always hit R3 and then you like, you rip his plate apart. Same thing over and over.
Yeah.
So
I think it would have been cool. The dragons that she released, I think they should have played the part like for artists. That you release them and somehow they'll just have a connection. So if there is a new game plus or something, they could be used or something.
Well, the dragons are part of Norse mythology, so think about it. We still got maybe 2 more games, so they might play a role. You did free them, so they might still play a role in the overall story. Maybe they'll help you out, or maybe you have to kill them. You never know.
Yeah.
So they're gonna BioWare the game.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You're gonna end up writing one during Ragnarok, coming down. They're gonna play a role, and I just know it.
Jeff, what was your least favorite part?
Yeah, so for me, this is not probably something that's specific to this game, but it was included in the game, and you see this in other like RPGs where you're upgrading things. But for me, it's the decision anxiety, and this kind of goes along the lines of what some of you guys said in terms of the upgrading and the crafting and the materials and things like that. For me, it was just that same old situation where you're like, geez, I'd really like to upgrade this thing because it'd probably be better, but I don't know if I want to waste the materials or the or the coins or whatever to do it, because what happens if like 5 minutes from now I find something else that now I've wasted that stuff, and so it's more just that decision anxiety of not knowing what's the best decision for your character.
Yeah.
And again, it's like you didn't need to do all that stuff. I ended the game with I think one piece of purple gear. It was like no legendary stuff. So it's like
Yeah, you really don't get to enjoy all the high level stuff until the very end. Even like at the very tail end and into the end game, stuff. That's when you really get to enjoy all the the high end stuff. I ended up getting that armor that helps you with the mist, the red mist, so it doesn't lower your health down as fast. And even that, I didn't even get to level that thing up all the way until even a few runs into that challenge mode, So I really hope that in the next game they figure out a way to where all those cool perks from the armors and stuff like play more of a role earlier on in the game than as they should,
Yeah, my thing with that is a little bit more vain. Like I'm the type of guy that there's certain armors in game that look amazing. They make Kratos look badass, and I would love to see them in a cutscene. And apart from the stats, I would love to be able to get my hands on them earlier in the game, as not too early, obviously, but at least so that I can be able to see them in the cutscene. That's just me being a little vain in that sense.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So question number 8. I think this will be pretty easy to answer. Do you feel that God of War is a good game? Or a good God of War game, I should say.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty unanimous here.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Ed.
Terrible.
I think it's a good game to play. It's not good in narrative.
You're okay.
And the only reason hold on. Let's play. I think there's been I believe there's other games, other genres that have talked about narratives and done narratives very well, but they don't get the praise from a lot of, I guess, hardcore players. And it feels to me, Mass Effect is a good exception, but even Mass Effect didn't really get that much praise in the sense that God of War is getting. Many as people who are new to God of War or who has played God of War, they recognize the narrative, because you don't even know what the heck is going on in the original trilogy unless you really pay attention. And people who have become hardcore gamers or feel like there's a hardcore game, they have been talking about narrative, and that might be the first game that I see some people actually mention about narrative. But what about Okami? What about The Last Guardian? What about Horizon? Talking about it with this diversity and that portrayal. Like, there's other stuff in other games that Sony and other companies have done, but in those games really don't get praise about their narrative. They get praise for their graphics and what you could do in the game. So, I mean, God of War is good. It is the leading game for Game of the Year. I give it a 9.5. I give it its credits. I just feel like it's not strong enough in its narrative.
I kind of agree with you on that. To just kind of piggyback on that real quick is, what I think is the issue here is that people they didn't expect the narrative from God of War. Everybody was familiar. Yeah. Anybody that was familiar with the previous games is like, it's just a hack and slash, gory action kind of game. You just smash a button and watch people die. That's basically it. And so, nobody ever talked that, the narrative in God of War 1, 2, and 3 or any of the other spin-offs is great. No, I mean, they had a little backstory, and for the fanboys like most of us here, is we knew the story behind it and stuff, and it was intriguing. But when it came to this one, it's just totally unexpected to have a story that deep. And other games, they don't get the praise that God of War so far has gotten, because some of those examples that you gave about the good games with narrative and stuff that's kind of expected, you know. That's kind of the reason why the Mass Effect Andromeda took such a hit, because Mass Effect 1 through 3 had such great narrative and stuff that they expected that from the new game, and when it didn't have that, you know, people were just kind of let down. And, what can you really be let down from the previous God of Wars one? And everybody, all that complained was like, "Oh, Kratos is such a one-dimensional character. There's not a great narrative." But now you get all this depth, and people, of course, you know, they're gonna go crazy over it.
Yeah. And I wonder because of people talking about good of this narrative. Now, would you go back and play other games in different genres to experience narrative? And I don't think a lot of people will do that.
I mean,
like what games would you bring up as examples?
I will bring up Last Guardian. I will bring up Hellblade, DMC, Devil May Cry, Okami. Well, some people give Limbo and Inside praise and stuff, but Iconoclast. That's on PlayStation. I would give that one. That actually deals with ideology and religion, and it tells a great narrative on how they handle that. And people just ignore stuff like that. So I mean, you know, I always talk about Horizon's narrative because I feel like that's the first game that actually dealt with diversity and that did it so well. You know, and I will hold that over God of War when it comes to narrative. I'll still hold the Last Guardian over both of them, but narrative-wise, I will hold like the Horizon over that.
Don't you think that when you hear like narrative or you know games like heavy on the narrative and stuff, you think, oh, this has got to be like a 70-something hour game or more or something? You got such a deep story, you know, you have to invest so much time.
You got so many layers to you know, to peel back like another The Witcher 3. You know,
that's such a high length. You know, when you hear that. You know, I think that's one of the reasons why some people, even though they really enjoyed God of War and the narrative and all that, I think that when they, you know, hear like this game over here has a great narrative, they're just like, well, how long is it? You know, because how long did people really expect a God of War game to be? I mean, the original games were what, 10 hours tops? You
15, know, maybe 20.
Yeah, at the most. You know, I mean, this one was a good
God of War 3 was actually very short.
So So, you know, they wanted something quick, and when you get a game like this one was good length, good narrative and stuff, it just kind of hit the sweet spot.
Okay. Alan, you think it's a good God of War game?
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
It's my favorite of the four that I've played in the series.
Okay.
I appreciate the story and how much it changed, because I always enjoyed the God of War games, but like it was mentioned before, like I didn't play it for the story. Like it was cool fighting all the different gods and stuff, but like I really didn't care.
Yeah.
But this one, like I genuinely cared. I wanted to know what happened. I liked him as a character. I liked Atreus. I was invested in the world and everything, and so bringing it back to a more focused story between the two. It felt more personal because it wasn't. It just felt like a small scale stuff. I mean, there's big stuff happening, but it's like the core of the story is very small, very personal, and I love that kind of stuff.
It feels more memorable.
Yes, and that's what That's one of the reasons I really love The Last of Us. It was because it was a great story between the two main characters, Ellie and Joel. Yeah, it was just. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff going on. There's bigger things at hand here, but it was the relationship between the two characters that were just awesome, and that's the same thing. Atreus and Kratos was just awesome.
I feel personally, it's a good God of War game, but I feel a lot. The question, I guess, over time, once we can get away from the game and have a little thought, behind it. Is it really good narrative because it's really good narrative, or is it everybody praising the narrative because it's such a stark contrast from what it was? I'm not saying the old God of War games didn't have really good narrative, but when I played God of War 1, I didn't give a fuck who Kratos was. I was just killing shit. And I'll be honest, it probably was my age at the time. I think I was, when did that come out? 2005? Something like that. Yeah, so I mean, I was in my early 20s. So I mean, I'm not really caring about story. I'm just in there, killing stuff. So that could be the issue too. But I mean, when you look at those games and you look at this one I personally think it did a really good job with narrative. But I think that's where a lot of the praise is coming from. It's the stark contrast, even without people really realizing that that's where they're getting it from. Like, I don't know. I think more people out there are saying it's good narrative because of the stark contrast than it is they think it's good narrative. In my opinion. Go ahead, Alan. Sorry.
It flowed and everything connected. It's in this presentation and all this set pieces. Everything just works about it. Where there's not really that many plot holes. There's no questionable motives or something. Like you get everything presented to you. You get an answer for it until the actual end. In a sense.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Jose, what would you say? You feel it to be a good so you and Adnell and Alan. Mm-hmm. Now I don't know about Ed. I picked you guys because we know you two are both diehard God of War fans, and we wanted you on the show, have a little discussion about it. So, as a diehard God of War fan, is it a good God of War game?
It's a good God of War game. Obviously, the sales don't lie. It's fastest selling, whatever. It's definitely good. And I kind of, from what you said earlier, whether the narrative is good because the earlier games didn't have such a good narrative, or is it an actual good narrative? I think it's a little bit of both. I think I had touched on it a little bit earlier, where people just didn't expect that, from this game because of the previous ones. So it was it was a nice little surprise. And what made it even sweeter was that it was good. It was a good narrative, good relationship, good writing and stuff. All of us here being, men, and some of us having kids, it really touched in a special place of, with your emotions. So when if you have kids and trying to connect with them and them, kind of giving you attitude and stuff, so all that stuff, especially, listening to that podcast I mentioned is called The Lost Pages of Norse Mythology. And the first half of the podcast, excuse me, gives you a little bit of the story leading up to the game. But the second half is them interviewing some of the developers, the director, the artists and stuff behind the game. And they, when they talk to Cory, they really touched on the fact that he's a dad now, and because of what he's going through, and that really inspired him to write and direct the game the way it is. And I think that this game, made at any other time, I don't think would have, it just wouldn't have been as great, because everything had to fall into place, especially with the Cory coming back to do this one and the stuff that he was going through. Had he not gone through any of that, we could totally be looking at a different game. So I'm glad that it worked out the way it is, and it's going to be up there for me on my list for a long time.
And now, what about you?
I would have to agree, just 95% with Jose. It's not the fact that it's good because the other games didn't have narrative. It's good because the other games didn't have that narrative, and because the narrative was actually pretty good for a guy. It was actually very good, considering everything what God of War actually stands for. It was a good narrative, a very good narrative, which made the game all that much better. The previous games, they had the narrative. It's just it wasn't anything to gawk at. It was like give you a little bit of background on
pretty simple story,
just something very simple, and then it tells you, hey, go beat the shit out of all these monsters. Go beat the shit out of the gods. So that's basically the narrative was there. And that's something that actually they improved with Ascension. A lot of people didn't like Ascension, and I would have to disagree with them. Ascension, when it comes to narrative, was actually it was an okay game. It had a lot more narrative than the previous games. And
Ascension is very underrated, I think.
It is. It definitely is. Ascension.
That multiplayer was fun.
The multiplayer was really fun, but that's what people hated about it.
Yeah.
Because it was a God of War game. God of War games are not supposed to have multiplayer, you know. And I think that's a lot of people were disappointed with Ascension. Again, the narrative for the God of War games was there. Ascension tried to give a little bit more narrative. People completely destroyed Ascension. And then you have this game, this God of War game that was like, oh my god, this game is amazing. What the hell is going on here? I wasn't expecting this from a God of War game. So yeah, it's definitely a bit of both. I would have to agree with Jose on this one. It's definitely a bit of both. Great game, great narrative. It introduced the narrative that the other games needed and never got, and it just made the game a whole lot better.
Okay. Jeff, is it a good God of War game?
I already answered, didn't
Oh, did you? Oh,
I said the
you went
question.
first. My bad. I'm sorry.
I hear you twice.
I just like to hear you talk twice.
I? Yes.
You have a beautiful voice, Jeff.
He does, even though he's like in allergy season. So the last question we have is: given the ending of the game, where would you like to see them take the series? Because they're obviously going to have more games in the series. They're not done. And Cory has also stated he's got multiple games in mind for the ways they can take this game. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say it better not be a tour de force of Norse mythology like Kratos did with Greek. Like, I don't want to see him just kill god after god after god after god. I don't want to see the same stuff. I don't want to see the same stuff from the first three. He's killed 3 gods already. Baldur. He's killed Thor's 2 sons. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. So yeah. So he's killed 3 Norse gods already, and now you know the secret ending, or not the secret ending, but the additional ending, little touch. You see Thor comes down and pays a visit. So it's like, are they going to go to toes? And obviously, it's a God of War series, so Thor's not going to win. You know what I mean? So it's more than likely that he's not going to win. So I'd like to see them maybe take it in the direction, and this is where we were talking earlier about Atreus, where it's like put him in as the main role and let him start making some decisions. Like, he can learn from his dad, this is what happened in my previous life, where I'm from, and this is, and he could learn from that story and see, like, there's nothing but death and destruction there. I don't want to do that. And so Atreus can be like, maybe we can work, to have a happy medium here. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I can work with Odin and try and, not bring upon the destruction of Asgard, I'd like to see him do that, I'd like to see him have some conflict against just running the table on Norse mythology and just killing everybody. And then in the end, Atreus becomes Kratos, and then they move on to, like, Egyptian mythology or Aztec mythology. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have so much that they can go on. It's just, like, tell a different story than that, I'd like him to take more of a major role. Kratos can kind of be in the background and kind of do his, he can go to retire. They don't have to kill him off, but if they do, whatever, I mean, that's sad, but, it gives more meaning to what he's done so far. And also his relationship with his son and what he's taught his son. You know what I mean? So they kill him off. If they kill him off in the second one, all that, the entirety of that second game and then this first game, he's really had a deep interaction with his son, or he can in the second one. But, I just feel I don't want them to run the table on the Norse gods and just kill everybody. But
it would be nice if you see Thor, and obviously they're gonna fight. Something tells me that they're gonna fight,
right?
Because they're gonna have to. They're both gods.
He's lost 2 sons. If he doesn't go after the guy, you're not really a dad.
So
or whatever.
Thor's cocky as all hell. He thinks he's the shit. He thinks he can just beat everybody around. And what I'm guessing is gonna happen is he's gonna meet Kratos. They're gonna exchange blows, and Kratos is gonna beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna realize, I can't beat this guy.
Yeah.
We should work together.
Yeah.
which would be nice.
So, is that the direction you wanted to go as well? Are you looking for like maybe more of an intelligent interaction between everybody involved?
As much as I love the old Kratos, I don't want Kratos to continue on the path of destruction.
Okay.
He's trying to grow from that, and if you actually read the comic book that comes with the game, it shows that he's trying to control his anger. He's gone out and he's gotten his ass beaten, and he hasn't fought back. Because he's trying to control his rage.
Yeah.
Rage is part of his power because he is the god of war, but he should have some self-control. And I think that's part of the whole journey of what God of War is him controlling himself, becoming a better person for his son. I do want them to expand to like maybe Egyptian mythology. That would be awesome. I just don't want a milking process. I don't want them to start just milking the game. I want money.
Yeah, so just go.
God of War 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, let's go to Aztecs. Oh, let's go to Celtic. No, I don't want that. Yeah. But if every game that comes after this game is as good, if not better than this God of War, I don't mind them if they come out with 5 more games.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like your favorite comic or TV show. You just want to keep seeing it going. Like your favorite movie. If it's really good and it maintains that quality, you want to just see it keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right.
Eventually, people are going to complain, oh, it's a milking process, or they're just milking it for money. And then it's like, dude, as long as the game is good, why do you care?
It's like, what else do you want? Like, everything, everything is a copy of a copy of a copy. I mean, So, Ed, what do you think? What is your statement on where you'd like to see the game go now that you've beaten it? Where would you like the series to go?
I would love for Kratos to be kidnapped, and Arceus is now doing Arceus meets Aesop. Oh no, not Aesop. Aesop Fables.
So now, are you trying to sell the Taken story?
in a way, now that they go to the Aesop Fables, and some of the stories are like dungeons and side quests to get extra armor, and everything else is just a darker story. And Arceus now has to go do all the stories and stuff in order to get powerful to rescue Kratos, so they can fight Thor before they go anything else.
Yeah,
right. And then when they finish that, they could probably go to the signs, like Gemini areas and all of that stuff. That the signs get tattooed onto the body to make Kratos powerful, because he loses his god's power after Kratos sucks his out. Let's just say.
Okay. All right, Alan. What about you? Where would you like to see them take the series?
I would like to see them deal with Ragnarok.
Okay.
I think that would be an interesting way to go, so it's not rehashing, he's just angry going after the different gods, and then or
Atreus
story, Atreus kind of story, father-son kind of thing. They're just dealing with this thing because they did mention that his actions brought Ragnarok 100 years or 100 winters sooner.
Yeah.
So just deal with that. And I think that, like I had mentioned earlier, like maybe Thor gets there and he's like, hey, yo, I'm going to kick your ass because you killed my 2 sons. But, yo, we got Ragnarok over here. Like, help me.
Yeah.
Let's
help each other save each other.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
and then maybe at the end or something, and then fight or something. Hash it out.
I feel that's too predictable. I think that they're going to actually do that.
Yeah, but them fighting is too predictable.
Yeah.
Well, I think if they didn't have show Thor in the secret cutscene, I think they should have saved that for the second game and then have that story go on, or something about Ragnarok happen before Kratos and Arceus, get involved with it. Something for a better setup. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Jose, what you got?
Well, I think the sales numbers kind of speak for themselves when it comes to where the direction of this game is going to go. Cory Barlog already said that they have another. He has plans for 5 more games, which would make it 6 games in this new era of God of War. So we can either look at it this way: either there's going to be 2 trilogies, or there's going to be 3 sequels. Because if you remember throughout the game, when he finds those plaques or whatever they're called, they show the sigils for Asian, like the Asian gods, whatnot. Then it goes to the Egyptian. It has the Egyptian symbol, like Osiris and stuff symbol. And if you guys played Ascension, there's a secret puzzle in Ascension that alludes to Kratos heading to the Egyptian, culture and stuff, I guess, to fight their gods. So I was kind of surprised that that's not where they went when this game first got announced, but I wasn't surprised that it was Norse mythology. So we're either gonna get, these games are either gonna wrap up within 2 games, 2 Norse, 2 Egyptian, 2 Asian, or it's gonna be just 2 trilogies, and it's gonna be 3 games for the Norse. They're gonna wrap that up, and it's gonna be up in the air what the second half is gonna be. But I don't think they're gonna go past beyond that solely with Kratos. I mean, keeping up with Kratos, it would just not good. Yeah, that would be cool. I'm kind of having a hard time picturing how that would look, with Kratos and stuff. Because I mean, if Kratos, even though he's a Spartan, he fits in that environment. He looks the part. He fits in the Norse, that whole Norse mythology era and stuff. And if you really think about it too, he would look the part in Egyptian mythology. But as far as like Japanese or Chinese or whichever one of those goes, it'd be it's like tough to picture him, in that era.
It's definitely a
I'm
challenge.
sure they can pull it off.
It's definitely a challenge that I'm pretty sure they can take, but that's a big challenge. Because like you said, he really, his persona doesn't fit at all.
And it's going to be kind of tough to see God of War without Kratos, if it does go into that direction where they're, slowly retiring Kratos and bringing Atreus in to, take over the God of War role. It's going to be kind of tough. It's like, like seeing your favorite sports team without, Michael Jordan or something like that. It's like, they're going to pull it off, but it's just not quite the same.
Yeah. It's gonna be like a new change. It's gonna be something new that you can
remember. They also did say that this is a sequel / reboot. So Kratos we might be looking too deep into this, and Kratos might not be going anywhere. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that'd be kind of crazy if they keep. I mean, they can keep him around. I mean, he's a god, so I mean, he can live. Well, he has mortal.
Kill him also, he could be with his daughter and son, his daughter and wife.
I know they need to wrap that up too with Calliope and his wife. There's because they conveniently left that part out here in this game, which I'm sure is going to come up in the next one. It has to. If it doesn't, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, I mean, because of his past, he sees hallucinations of Athena. So he still has. They at the ending of 3, he never got rid. He didn't atone for his sins. He killed all the gods because that's what he wanted to do. But at no point in time was it specified. Yeah, okay, so you're free of your nightmares. No, he still has the nightmares, and I think partly that's why he wants to change. But I guess they just didn't show it in this game. I guess for convenience, so they can show it in the next game. But
AKA, they didn't want to turn this into a Batman storyline. Every time they reboot Batman, you see his parents getting killed.
Yeah. Well, next game we'll find out that Kratos' mom's name is Martha.
Yeah. That would be hilarious. I mean, it's also like Spider-Man too, except this last one they didn't show Spider-Man getting bit, so that was good. The Homecoming.
Yeah.
Jeff, where'd you like to see him go?
God, you guys said everything that could possibly be said.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So I'm thinking outside of just where they might take the story, this is just I don't know how they would really swing this. It's just really an idea or a thought based on the fact that we in the previous question talked about how you could end the game and not even have all the gold level engine legendary gear. But what if they took somehow they took the gear and the leveling system and they adapted it to be more like something like the way that Destiny is, where when expansions sequels are iterated on, that you just keep growing as a character, so that way when the next one comes in, you bring Kratos forward from the end of your previous game, which is where we all are now, and you start off with your gear set that you ended the game with, and keep iterating on it from there. I think that would be kind of interesting if they could figure out a way to do that. I mean, obviously the biggest problem there is this: they use the classic, RPG color coding system for the different levels of gear, so that kind of blows the theory of it. But if they could figure out some way to do that, it'd be kind of neat. Just because, I will be going back to it at some point to maybe try to get the platinum, and I'll probably get some legendary gear at that point. But if I don't, then I've never had a chance to use it, see what it looks like, unless I go to YouTube or something like that.
Yeah. Matt Infinite did say that he wants to see Kratos praise the sun. So that is his. I could totally see in the next one to bring Odin in a little bit faster, because you got Freya is a little hurt that she killed her son, and then you got Thor. I could see Freya kind of teaming up with Odin, like going back to Odin, being like, my hate for this man for killing my child is stronger than my hate for you. Like we need to destroy him. And then they both use Thor as, their weapon. They just point the weapon at Kratos and try and kill him off. I can totally see that happening.
Yeah, if I was Freya, I'd be trying to bring Zeus back.
Plot twist. They go to all the other locations before any of the main gods are shown, and at the very end, all those gods came together to fight Kratos because they find out he's the real problem.
Yeah. See? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, remember that the Vanir, still they hate Freya because of what she did, apparently. So, what if Kratos goes to the Vanir for help to stop Ragnarok? That could also be another.
Yeah, true. So many turns this could take.
Yeah, that's true. All right. I believe that's it. Answered all our questions. Any last thoughts before we go, guys?
I think Ed needs to re-answer question number 1, because his real answer is his favorite moment of the game was the end, because he never has to play it again.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
That was good. That was a good way. That was a good way to end.
Just joking, Ed. Just joking.
All right. Well, that'll be it for the Nerds Gone Platinum God of Boy Spoilercast, aka God of War. You can watch us on Nerds Gone Rogue on YouTube. We're on iTunes every Thursday morning. We've got the 2018 Game Challenge, goes up every Tuesday morning at 7. You can tweet us at ng_platinum. You can also email us questions, comments, and concerns at nerdsgoneplatinum@gmail.com. Alan, where can we find you? If you want to be found. If the fans want to find you.
Basically,
have a discussion.
Oscar Meyer, which is OSKARMYRE. Just on everything. Basically Twitter, Instagram, PSN. It's all the same.
Okay. Jose, where can we find you if you want the listeners to find you?
You can find me on Instagram, where I post occasionally. Be warned, I post some weird stuff sometimes, So and on PSN, both of them are 520 CINCOTWOZERO. Wu-Tang.
And now, where can we find you?
And just on PSN and Xbox, and Xbox One. You want to find me on PSN? Is Shin Senketsu, exactly how it sounds, all S's. And on Xbox is Amsel Elemental, AMSEL Elemental.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Ed, where can we find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at that retro code. You can also check out my podcast, Optional Opinion, on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, and other podcast apps. Also check out my work at Nurse Gone Roll on YouTube at ngrradio.com. If you want to find me on PlayStation, mine is Okamical, OKAMICAL, and on Xbox One, it's the Lyrical One, DALYRICAL1. Also, can I make a request? If anyone could mix the boy that's in the game with Cameron's old boy hip hop song, I would really be appreciative to it. when they say the boy part in the beat, just have Kratos saying boy. One of my friends from Extra Jump Podcast recommended that, and I've been looking for YouTube for someone to do it. So if y'all guys,
that probably will happen soon. It won't be long before that happens. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Have a good evening, and that ends our broadcast.